Hi guys, welcome to my Deep Purple concert review. I went to see Deep Purple yesterday in a city called Brno in the Czech Republic. So in this video I want to talk about how the band was and the individual members of the bands, how they performed. What was the set list like, how was kind of the fan engagement, the show and the crowd and all that stuff. And then I will give it my rating and recommendation. At the end, then I want to talk a little bit about these older bands, should they still be on the road? And I want to compare actually Deep Purple a little bit to when I saw them actually 19 years ago and thought that they were old back then versus now, and to Kiss and Uriah Heep, Saxon maybe a little bit, and some of the bands that I've kind of seen recently that are kind of like these older bands. Before we get started, then social media. We have @metal_and_rockzone on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, where we share shorter videos and stuff like that, like from gigs that we go to, album information, anniversary celebrations of albums, and stuff like that. So hit us up there @metal_and_rockzone on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Deep Purple are on this tour now called Unleashed in Europe, and that's a tour that goes June, July this year. And I drove, because I saw this concert coming up, and I drove 2 hours to Brno, which is the second biggest city, I think, in the Czech Republic. Yeah, I think it's the second biggest one. It's about 500,000 people that live there. I haven't really spent a lot of time in that town, but it's nice. But on the way, and here's a little shout out, I was listening to something called the Deep Purple podcast. And if you are a Deep Purple fan and you don't know the Deep Purple podcast, you need to check it out. They cover albums, individual members of the band, the story behind the music, all the side projects that the members of Deep Purple and after their afterlife, after Deep Purple, has kind of generated. And we're talking 200-300 albums or something that are out of that group that has kind of been Deep Purple. So it's a great show. They deep dive, and they're on YouTube, Spotify, and all that. But on YouTube, you can actually see, because they're showing the draft of the album cover of Machine Head or whatever, so they really deep dive. We're talking 1.5, 2 hour episodes. Deep Purple podcast, guys, check that out. I really like it. Yeah, the gig was in something called Winning Group Arena, and there was about 10-12,000 people there, and everyone was kind of already in, because there was an opening act, some local band that was playing cover songs. I wasn't interested in that, and they were doing cool cover songs like Led Zeppelin and some David Coverdale songs actually that I heard, and Lenny Kravitz and this kind of classic rock stuff. But I didn't come to see that, so I was kind of wandering around, and I checked the merch, and I was really surprised actually. I just thought, first of all, I thought it was a mistake, so I asked the girl, is this it? Is this the merch store? There was just this stuff that you see on the screen now. So then the opening act finished, and I was kind of eagerly waiting, and I started thinking back to how do I actually know Deep Purple. And I always knew about this band, but I kind of got into Iron Maiden, I got into Kiss, and then into Iron Maiden, and kind of into this stuff before I got into Deep Purple. It's usually the other way around, that Deep Purple kind of is the gateway drug, or Led Zeppelin and these bands are into something else. But I got into heavier stuff and then kind of got into this. And I remember, for example, in 1984 when Perfect Strangers came out, my sister had that album. She played for me that song. It was a goosebump moment, and that was to become a goosebump moment last night as well. So yeah, it's kind of a band that has always been there, but I would say in the recent years I kind of got more into them. And the last album, not the cover songs album Turning into Crime, but the Whoosh that came before that, is actually a really good album. I recommend that one, and surprisingly good. So they started the show with Highway Star, and it was great sound from the get-go, and really great energy in the band, and that was kind of to remain throughout the gig. This is clearly a band that functions well together, even though the guitar player is new. He came in last year, Simon McBride, replacing Steve Morse, and yeah, he fits well in, and the whole unit kind of works. And then the second song was Picture from Home, both of these songs from Machine Head, and it was clearly that the energy is there, and they were good from the get-go. And I felt on those first two songs that Gillan was actually better than last time I saw him, and it made me wonder, if he has kind of adjusted himself better now than he maybe had done 19 years ago. I mean, keep in mind, he's 77 years old, so he's no teenager, and obviously has to take that into consideration. He's not running around the stage or anything like that. He sits down, he goes behind the drum kits, rests a little bit, and, he's not moving a lot. And But yeah, and I've also started thinking that, okay, is some of this backing stuff? And I don't think so, actually. I think there are very, very few parts that they maybe add some effects on the vocals and stuff like that. But I think this is as it comes from the cow. What you hear is what is being performed. What you get is what you see. I don't know. So after like 4 songs, they did like a guitar solo, and that kind of took a little bit the edge off it, you know, like it was a 5-minute long solo. And I mean, Simon McBride is a great guitarist, but it was too long, you know. And but on the other hand, I don't know, like this is what classic rock is. It's a little bit of this jamming, and if you listen to some of the old recordings and the old live albums with Deep Purple, it's a lot of this stuff, you know. Like I bought, I think it's made in Japan or made in Europe. That's just kind of a jam session, you know. And you know, but I don't know. It got too much a little bit. But Simon adds a lot of life to the stage because Glover is very kind of stationary. And obviously the drummer is stationary, Don Airey on the keyboard is stationary. And as I said, Gillan isn't really running around. So the first kind of fan interaction was after like 5 songs, and there wasn't really a lot of stuff going on. There wasn't like a lot of sing-along or anything except on Smoke on the Water. But yeah, I was missing a little bit, like it would have been nice with some storytelling or something like that, you know? Yeah, the show and kind of everything around that was kind of pretty basic. They had like one big screen behind the band and then 2 screens on the side of the stage. And then, yeah, there was no fireworks or anything like that. And the stage was pretty clean. So they kind of made the music do the talking. This was really cool. 9 songs in, they did another solo, like a keyboard solo. And this guy, Don Airey, he's been in the band since 2002 or 3 or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And you know, this guy's been around, been Ozzy, Black Sabbath. He did Whitesnake and Rainbow as well. And he kind of started the intro to the keyboard solo with Ozzy, Mr. Crowley intro. That was kind of cool, but it felt a little bit long, you know. But he made up for it a little bit by doing this Czech song, Vltava Moldau. It's called this famous symphonic poem by a guy called Bedřich Smetana, I think. Yeah, you will know that song if you hear it. We actually have that solo here on the channel. And the crowd really liked that because, you know, like they were proud it's their home song. It's a Czech song. And then he segued into Perfect Strangers, which was, yeah, the goosebump moment for me. There was a surprising inclusion there, a song called Anya that's from the album Battle Rages On. And they haven't really played this song a lot live. They played it early 90s, like 91, 2, 3, and then never until like the last 2 years or something like that. So that was actually cool. It's a good song, actually, Anya. And they ended on Smoke on the Water, and then they did the encore, and that was Hush with a lot of jam, and an extended jam, and then they did a bass solo by Roger Glover, and I was like, okay, now we're just missing a drum solo. And then Black Knight was the final song. And, well, they didn't do the drum solo. I don't know if they've got it or something, which actually I would have liked because Ian Pace on the drums, he was fucking great. That somebody told me, yeah, he's the best classic rock drummer. I'm kind of starting to get there and see why people would say that. He's amazing. So yeah, as I said, the band as a unit were good. I mean, Gillan's 77, Roger Glover is 77, and Don Airey is 75, Ian Pace 75, and Simon McBride is the kid. He's 44. He could be their son. But these guys are super tight, you know, like it really works. And I think the keyboards help a lot in allowing the band to do all this with just one guitar. I'm going to put the set list here on the screen now. So there were 6 songs from Machine Head, 2 from In Rock, and 1 from Now What, 1 from Perfect Strangers, 1 from Battle Rages On, 1 from Whoosh, and then 1 cover song, which is Hush. But that was on, I think, the 3rd album, Deep Purple album. So I didn't really feel that anything was kind of missing, but on the other hand, it was too short, just 13 songs and then like 3 solos, and it didn't feel like, you know, I drove 2 hours for this, so I didn't feel that I was getting a lot for my money. And I have to put that kind of into my rating, which is 8.5. The band was good. That's one of the positive. I mean, like, as I said, they really worked as a unit. There were no kind of bad or boring songs, no kind of dull moments in this. And they made the music kind of do the talking. They were not kind of trying to divert the attention to fireworks or light shows or anything like that, which I've seen Kiss. I'm looking at you guys. I didn't feel that they were kind of going through the motions you felt that they enjoy being on this stage, and that's always a positive thing because that kind of radiates into the crowd. Uh, and I think it must be hard at times to be there because actually when I looked at the set list from 2004, it's kind of the same stuff, you know, and they've done a lot of gigs since then. So you always out there doing the same song over and over again. Now the negatives, as I said, too short, just 13 songs and 3 solos, and it felt, yeah, the solos even felt long. You know, if they would have put in those 3 solos at 1 or 2 minutes or something, it would have been fine. But everything was like 5-6 minutes, so that feels too long. And I think, yeah, it could have been more fun with a little bit of kind of storytelling or something like that, that they would, I don't know, say something about the songs, because this is probably the last time that a lot of the people that were there will see them. And Uriah Heep did this very nicely here in Prague late last year. They kind of sat on the stage, did an acoustic set, and they talked about the songs, and that was really cool. I mean, Uriah Heep is going to come again here next year, but still, you know, like I felt that they could have done a little bit more like that, and maybe by that way gotten away with doing just 13 songs. The merchandising was just silly. I mean, there must have been some logistic issue or something, because they had like, yeah, 1 t-shirt, 1 long sleeves or something like that, or 1 hoodie. So yeah, I saw them in 2004 in Iceland, in Reykjavik, and I thought they were old back then. So now it kind of brings me to this, you know, what should these bands do, you know? And I think they should keep going as long as they want, because as long as somebody pays for seeing them, they should be on the road. That's up to us, the concert goers, to make a decision whether a band can live from this or not. And also another thing is that this is what these guys know how to do. We would never tell a painter to stop painting paintings when he turns 60 or 63 or 65. People should do whatever gives them pleasure, and they can do as long as they want. Now, obviously, I have seen some of these bands, as I said. I've seen Uriah Heep, I've seen Kiss, and I felt, for example, with Uriah Heep, I felt the same as with Deep Purple. They can still do it. It works. With Kiss, well, you can check my review. It was kind of on the edge. I didn't feel like, I felt like, okay, this is it. You know, like this must be the end for Kiss, and they're younger than Deep Purple. And I think Kiss are trying to cover it up more, and you start thinking backing tracks and all this stuff, and that's not a nice feeling as a being in a concert, thinking, is this real or is it fake? But yeah, I think, as I said, I mean, I felt like yesterday Deep Purple were kind of better than in 2004, but it might be me with a different mindset, you know, because I think in 2004 I was also 19 years younger, and I felt that anyone over 50 was super old. Now I'm 50 and I feel that that's young. So, you know, I may be being a little bit more generous to them in how I evaluate this. The band is on its way to a studio. They're going to record another album, and as I said earlier, the album that came out before the covers album, Turn Into Crime, Whoosh, that was a really good album. And I was actually in the car now, driving home from the concert. I was listening to So What, the album So What, and that's actually a good album as well. So check out their later stuff. I think this is it for Deep Purple. I'm curious if you were in the concert or if you've seen them on this tour, what you think, if you agree or disagree. Would be very happy if you check out some more videos on the channel. I have videos of album reviews and concert reviews. I've seen Kiss recently, Pantera, Mötley Crüe, and a lot of different stuff. And yeah, like, share, and comment and all that usual stuff. And stay good. See you.